nose. Whoa. All right, so we look like we're already live, and let's get this sorted out. All right, guys, bear with me. I have a love reading for you, and we're going to turn on more lighting. I don't know what happened, but hi, I'm Amanda, and I am going to be giving you your December 2024 love reading as we are in the gym. It's time to get some personal development going on. I had such a good download just getting in my body. I wanted to give a reading for you. So, apologies, not really, but I just want to acknowledge that we're in this time where we're letting go of perfectionism and perfect social media hype. So this is me, Ron Real, with a reading with 3 things for you today that are going to really help to give you a beautiful month of December and prepare you for the 2024 big year heading to a theater near you. So let's dive in. So the first thing that I'm feeling, and this is me channeling, this is me working with clients and studying patterns out there. So just take what resonates with you. Maybe you get a download from what I'm sharing and it's like, that's a little nugget for me or a inspiration. So I'm not your guru. I'm just here to inspire you. And I have a channeled reading that might just crack you open in some new direction. So I'm excited to share. The first thing, this is a love reading. It could have to do with a relationship, a new one, an old one. It could be self-love. It could be love in general, streaming out into all areas of your life, your business, etc. Don't let love limit you, because that's not what love does. All right, so first thing that I wanted to say is that we are moving out of ego into going from a totally new direction. We've been cracking out of like an old paradigm, family pattern systems, like all these old barriers are just crashing down, which is perfect. It's beautiful. It's time. It's exciting. It's freaking heavy. It's intense. A lot of people have been getting sick. Some people think it's like pandemic-y kind of stuff, or, viruses out there, but I see a lot of it as old paradigms that are just melting away and old toxins coming out. So right now, a lot of people feel really uncomfortable because everything that was more, let's say, structures of society that were somewhat ego-based or even really based on conditional love. Like if you get a good grade, then you're going to go to the next level. If you look a certain way, you're going to date this kind of attractive level person. So we're like going out of these old limiting paradigms into something really new and exciting. And when we come out of ego, it opens up totally new doorways, and that is beautiful, expansive, and it can also feel like there's a little bit of where do I start energy that's going on in love, relationships, soul purpose, what am I doing with my life? A lot of, I will say us, you, me, I'm speaking to you, so I'm going to say you are going through a rapid acceleration right now, and it is seeming like there's a death. Something's not working. Something hasn't been working for a while. And the more you try and work it, the more it works you and has broken you down. And you know what I'm talking about. You know that you've got to stop. Now the question is like, oh crap, where do I start now? If that thing isn't working, if that person or relationship or the approach to the relationship isn't working, where do I go? And the thing is you are going from ego, the old patterns that were passed down from your mother, your father, your boss, your school, and you're actually going to want to dive deep into your body and look for answers there. And now somatic healing is something that we all used to do. We'd sit around the fire and drum and dance and find our motion, find our movement, find our emotion, and we would get answers. We'd get downloads, we'd get visions coming deep into our bodies, connecting to things like music or fire or community, things that would inspire us. So during this December time, if you can find things that get you in your body, maybe it's movement therapy, ecstatic dance, maybe it's going to like a slow yin yoga class or going for a walk, or having those embodiment practices. If you've been following me this year, you know that I've really cracked open. I was inspired by having 2 decades of harrowing migraines, and I hired an embodiment coach who helped get the migraines really significantly reduced. And the side effect of that was cracking open to new layers of peace, nervous system reset. Was not easy. I went through a period of reopening trauma that I didn't know was there. I still don't to this day know what it was. It's like, did I have something that I suppressed in childhood? I still don't know, but I do know that it's worked its way out of my body and my nervous system to a great degree, which is really exciting. So let's see, what I was going to say about that is going from our ego requires us to go inward and go into our beautiful body systems that have so much inherent wisdom, and they're repairing and rebuilding and generating and rebirthing all the time. So sometimes when we go into these death phases of like, where am I going next? You know, my career is just completely going, or the financial system that I'm in isn't working anymore. Like, when we really listen to the higher intuition wisdom, it's going to show up in our body, and we're going to have signs and synchronicities from the universe of where to go next. So let's take some comments here. Yes, I feel this now. Hi, Ms. Nice to see you here. Just new to my channel, appreciating this advice. So happy that you're here. And speaking of like newness, I think a lot of us are going through what's called renewal, where something that has died is not dead forever, it's resurrecting. One of my clients went through a really painful breakup, and then she got back together with him, and she's still gonna have his baby with him, but they had to go through a horrible breakup, and it felt like the end of the world, a death. She worked through all this stuff, and it turned out that it had not so much to do with all the projections that they were throwing with each other, but more to do with their blueprint wasn't working anymore. Like, she had early childhood trauma bonds. He had early childhood trauma bonds, and they were relating to each other with the toxic relationship with his mother was showing up. The toxic relationship with her father was showing up, and they were exchanging, kind of like playing a game of tennis back and forth of like just this old game of trauma patterns. And then finally, with the work that she's been doing together with me, and she's educating him about it. Now, luckily, my husband, Jack, is going to be working with the men, and he's going to be getting a session with Jack, so that'll be exciting. But this heavy old pattern stuff of just regurgitating abuse patterns, or I'm not good enough patterns, or the parent screaming at the child and the child feeling like they're never enough, and then the child growing up and screaming at the kid because, you know, they have this sensation of I'm not safe and I'm not good enough. So we have these old systems in our nervous systems, in our chakra systems, in our meridians, you know, in our body systems. And the great news is we have a whole library, an Akashic record system, so to speak, of incredible internal medicine that when we address it, when we hold space for it, we go, I have an old trauma stuck in my body. I have an old belief, an old pattern, and we can access this information. We can learn how to do that. And this is what I'm teaching my clients how to do. This is what I've been deepening in myself. And part of it is by going from ego to going within and going with some gentle motion. I'll just talk about this one little tidbit. Is that when we're in utero, we learn to find ourselves by moving. And it's these random, like babies go like, ah, it's their nervous system kind of kicks into place. And then all of a sudden it's like, here I am. Oh, and then the baby, you know, out of the utero is like flicking, it's flailing its little arms and legs. That's us. When we're like, I have an arm. Oh my gosh, I have fingers. What is this? So it's these involuntary movements that help us to find ourselves. So if you can practice some type of movement therapy, or even like if you're going for a walk, it's not that scary to try something different. Just go for a walk and just ask your body to feel and give you information. If you're stuck, if you're like, God, you know, what am I going to do in my next step? I don't know if I should take this job, or if I should go back to school, or if I should launch a business. There's a lot of this energy of renewal, starting again. It doesn't mean that we're dying. It doesn't mean that we've lost 20 years of our education. It doesn't mean that if we're going through a breakup or even a divorce that we've lost a part of ourselves, or that marriage was a waste. What we're realizing now is that we're graduating, we're moving into the next level, and we're taking the good and we're releasing what no longer serves. There is no bad. It's really going, this doesn't vibrate with me anymore. It's not coming to the next plane of existence with me. So it's a really beautiful opportunity to check in at the end of this year, over the next month, as you're setting your 2024 goals. Like, how do I let go of ego? And if I stop comparing myself to others, one of my clients asked me today, she said, sometimes I can't tell. Am I deeply fulfilled and I'm just comparing myself to others? Because she said, I'm in a relationship with my cat. He's the cutest, best, amazing cat. I have a couple of friends, but I'm not as popular as I think I should be. I don't have a million friends inviting me to the coolest parties. I don't have, this career that's exploding right now, but I have financial support from my family, and I live in a beautiful home, and I have this and I have that. And she was like talking out loud, and I asked her, I said, how do you feel in your body? Do you feel nurtured? Do you feel like you have everything you want? And we didn't have time to dive into it because I was closing the session, but she got that sense of like, there's part of me that's really judging myself that I need to look at. So if you are going from ego, what that transition will look like when you go into deep inward space is there's going to be this old ego operating system that you're going to need to knock down and be like, do I still need to hang out with the popular crowd? Do I still need to do Botox? Do I have to dye my hair? Do I have to keep dating this type of person? Do I have to date this gender? Like, there are going to be all these questions, and that's great, but to not be overwhelmed, the practice that I encourage you to do is to get in the body and ask the question, does it feel supportive for me to stay in my job? Does it feel supportive? What does it feel like in my body if I were to go back to school? Does it feel, whatever your things that you're really looking at. So ask the body and just play with it. And by moving the body, by maybe, like, oh, this is what this job would feel like, or, oh, what if I rebrand my business in this way, or, ooh, going on a date with Teddy. I feel contracted. You can get so much wisdom from the body movement. So, gosh, there's so many things that I want to share in this video. One of my personal examples of renewal is basically, having 50,000 subscribers on a channel that used to be viral. Now I feel like my channel has got a virus. I'm like, did Google block me? Like, I have 50K subscribers, almost 20K subscribers on our email, and like 7 people opening and 100 people to like 300 people watching videos. And like, this has been a big letting go for me because I was an A student. I went to a top university. I got my PhD, and there's like all this pressure to exceed the achievement level that should be like this high. And now I'm just like, whoa, I was operating from a place of outside of myself. And now my channel and my internal channel are aligning, which is like, you're enough. Stop. You're enough. Doesn't matter how many people are on live. Doesn't matter how many people are watching you tomorrow. Doesn't matter. And those addictions to being liked and being loved for the likes and all the old ego games are just a mirror of how my little one needs to be loved. And it doesn't mean that we can't want success and we can't want, fame and fortune and things like that. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. But where I was coming from was just expiring. And so part of me has been like, I should just get a new channel. Maybe I won't be blocked. Am I getting blocked and blacklisted? And maybe I just need to start over again, or maybe I should give up and completely redo my marketing. And part of it is like, wow, what if I just came from no ego and go with what flows? And what flows is like, I love my channel. I freaking love y'all. I love the people that show up and the people that maybe aren't getting the things popping up saying I left a video. Like, maybe they'll come back later and maybe they won't, but I love it. So do what feels good, do what feels light, do what feels loving to you. And it might change today, it might change next week, who knows? So here's to embracing the new within the old systems, within what we've already created, and then just seeing how it feels. Now, another thing that I feel is really coming through this month in December 2023 is these trauma patterns are breaking down, like I mentioned. And I feel like there's a lot of addiction energy, a lot of love addiction energy that was running people it's getting broken down. And what I'm seeing in a lot of people, my clients, I'm just noticing how people are like, I'm not addicted to what I was addicted to. Like, I know that's bad for me. I don't want it, but what do I want? So there's kind of this a little bit of like in the polyvagal theory, if you study nervous system, somatic healing, we know that that's more of like a dorsal vagal state, a little bit of a kind of feeling of dead or foggy or like stuck energy, not wanting to get out of bed. So there might be some of that showing up in your love life of like, do I want a partner? Do I want to get married? Do I want all the things I used to want? What do I want? Do I even want to want anything anymore? So just be with that. Just notice it. Just hold space for it. And that's part of the healing process that's going to give us success, is being in it. I know I used to want to quantum leap ahead of like where I was. Like, I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel like down in the dumps after being dumped. I want to just get out of here. But the more we can be there and process it now, the less time we have to waste in kind of half asleep. So just being present to any fatigue you're feeling, rest. Sit with it, feel the depression, feel, the anger, feel the weirdness. And the more you're like able to witness this and say, oh, well, like that's where I am, that's real, the faster it'll move, or the more you'll be able to do things with it. And I've experienced that as well. And it's been a major ego blow because, I have a PhD, transpersonal counselor, my parents were therapists, and I didn't really realize, but I grew up in a house that was shaming psychological imbalances. And I did a little digging and I found out like my grandmother was hospitalized and my mom watched that growing up, and she was afraid that she would be crazy. She was afraid that I would be crazy. And so there was kind of like this be happy, everything's fine game and layer that was going on. And how sad is it that we can't give ourselves the freedom to feel what we feel, whether it's a gloomy day like it is, out here, it's supposed to be sunny California, right? Well, no, we have fog in the Bay. We have fog in our energy system sometimes, and that's part of Mother Nature's clearing cycle and the cyclical nature of being closer and further to the sun, and that's perfect. We learn how to become more resilient when we go through those dark places and dark nights of the soul. The key is to not avoid it, but to be in it, and even, I think what's so important is to share in community and to share it and not be alone. That's the third thing that I see as like kind of a theme or a tip for the month of December. And it ties into holiday season, is being in connection, being in community, being in intimacy, in relationships, not necessarily with a lover, that could be part of it, but to be really finding soul family, soul community. And it could be community for a day, it could be going to a beautiful retreat or going to a holiday party and finding a couple of people that wow, in my family, I didn't even know I could talk about these things and open my heart. Or maybe it is joining an online community that you can fully share about your process. One of my clients was talking about how she had been doing healing psychedelics and found a whole community that is doing trauma healing therapy with the use of entheogenic medicine and psychedelic therapies, and therapists joining in on the pathways. And so she was like, wow, I found all these people that could support my process. I can ask questions, I can share. So if you have something that you find really healing or that you're passionate about, come find your people. Let's come together and not do this whole thing alone. I'd say like the last thing that I see is a major theme that's coming next year. And I did a twin flame prediction video that isn't necessarily limited to twin flames, so you can check that out. I published it yesterday. But what I want to say is like this time, like December and all of next year, a lot of it is really about blending the mainstream and the alternative. You could call it the kind of the shamanic healing alternative medicine world with the scientific, or you could say spirit and science. There's going to be a lot of blending that's going to be happening next year. And a lot of us that have been like afraid of coming out of our woo-woo closet, or people that have been afraid to like trust the woo-woo thing because they're like, I need the science, I need the proof. I've been kind of like fooled by the snake oil before. I don't want to invest in this. I think there's going to be a huge unification of these different dualities, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity, financial opportunity. I'm seeing a lot of doctors, kinesiologists, osteopaths, or all these kind of different, I'm thinking of the people in my life. I'm like, what is that, the OT? So I'm seeing a lot of people in my life that are like mainstream educated, allopathic medicine experts, or that's what they've been doing for their whole lives. And now they're going into like nutrition school, or they're going into like blending Reiki with what they're doing. And I feel like we're creating this merging, and that is not only creating, like, you know, we have this awakening that's happening, but it's like the awakening within the awakening, like the union that's happening in these two seemingly various schools of thoughts. And with that, we're seeing some wars going on in the world. We're seeing the parts that don't agree really coming out. So the more we can find the commonality, and this is for you and your relationships, this is for me and my relationships, the more we can focus on the common ground, like, hey, I want to breathe clean air. Hey, I don't want to be fighting with you. I want to be making love with you. Hey, I want our kid to be happy growing up. Like, so we can focus on the things we want. And then from there, when we find that common ground, we can say like, hey, so when you do this, I get triggered and I want to have this, you know, this common ground feeling of love and connection. So finding the common ground, focusing on what you're going to be grateful for. Like, this is all the stuff that I've been working on in my own relationship and relationship counseling. Yes, as a love coach, I still see relationship challenges and go see a counselor. And one of our biggest like successes are the ways we've been finding so much more love and connection and avoiding family patterns going is really just like focusing on the positive, focusing on what we do want. And that helps us come out of the ego and go into where we're meant to go, which is all the love and magic. So I hope that you have an amazing December. I hope this helped you. Thank you to those of you in the comments. Ms. Groft says, I want to be in union with my twin now that I finally found him. I'm near 40, for crying out loud. I plan to start Reiki and sound healing. Crazy. Cool synchronicity. And I've seen that one of my clients told me that her friend just met her soulmate like this year and moved in, and he's from South Africa, she's from California, and that she said, like, you know, it comes when you're ready. Like, I have no regrets. I'm a young 67. So I feel like that's so beautiful. And I've helped so many women who are like in their late 30s, early 40s to find their partner and conceive. And I have this belief that, you know, it's really not so much about age. Like, there's so much more wiggle room than they tell you. You know, you should get pregnant by this age. And this is, you know, Jack and I are still like figuring out. I'm going to be 44 in January, and we're doing a lot to stay healthy. We should see our supplements. You should see what we do. Speaking of which, I got to go and do my workout. But yeah, take care of yourself, make the decisions, be in that radiant body, have so much energy, and then decide what your next thing to birth or maybe even to resurrect in your life is. Let me know what your projects are for 2023's December, this month. And any of your goals for next year as well. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing as I restart this channel for 2024. I love y'all. Have a beautiful day. And this is my first little like super ghetto live. It was fun. All right, I'm gonna go now.